Welcome back. Fans of playing Spot the Difference may have noticed two such differences in this opening section. Firstly, the music's changed, and secondly, we didn't get clearance to launch from Rollins. I'm not quite sure what the latter is caused by. Obviously, the music difference is for the final set of missions. We have this new tension music, or whatever it's supposed to be. I quite like it as a launch theme, actually. It's much preferable to the Wing Commander 3 standard one, even if it isn't as good as the Wing Commander 2 one that they've used for scrambles instead. Anyway, our merry flight of Excaliburs has to deal with these pair of Swordhacks, and we've got about 90 seconds or so to do that, after which they will have 6 trackers jump in on top of us, and then another pair of Swordhacks once we're done with them. That was my reasoning for the use of the Leech missiles against them, though it didn't seem to work as well as it did on a couple of other occasions, notably in the solo run. You'll see precisely what I was aiming for. And now we are going to hit the kill bar system. The jump sequence in Wing Commander 3 is similar to that of previous games, rather than Privateer's rather unusual sequence. And much like with ground strike missions, we are now forced to reset all the energy levels and switch to full guns, the latter of which I forget to do for a while. It's still really annoyingly lazy that they didn't think to carry your settings forward when they reload the engine because you've just hit a jump point or gone into a ground strike mission or something. I mean, it's 4 slider positions? It's not exactly a major task, is it? Anyway, we're now in the kill bar system, that being the point of that jump from Freya to kill bar, and we won't leave it again until the end of the game. So it's been a long journey, but we're now on the final approach, as it were. These Darkits have the slight problem that I think the AI has a figuring the odds code in it somewhere, and so against 4 Excaliburs, the Darkits go defensive almost immediately, which makes killing them a real pain. And the last one in particular is pretty much not going to stop dodging the entire time. And Darkits are sadly extremely difficult to hit with an Excalibur's guns while they're dodging. You'll see a couple of times where I'm directly on its tail and the auto tracker consistently shoots a bit off. I did actually debate turning the auto tracker off in sections like this one right now, but I decided that ultimately that was slightly more faff than it was worth, and in the end we were going to get him, and it wasn't, a big problem because this is a 4-on-1 and the enemy is a Darkit. Besides, if I hadn't managed to hit Maniac at least once in the LP, it wouldn't have been right, would it? In any case, all's well that ends in an explosion, which will suit this game just fine. Next wave are Drow Fleets, the same number. Basically, the attempt here is to wear you down. You'll have lots of waves of 4 enemy fighters, there's a couple of 6 enemy fighters. But since those are only 1-on-1s, not really that difficult. Though, that said, the fighters do have a habit of all gunning for you. As you can see, many of them are shooting at me, and virtually few of them are shooting at my wingmen, who have mostly gone off to attack corvettes. Which I wouldn't mind, in the sense that I really hate firing at corvettes all the time, if it weren't for the fact that my wingmen are really bad at attacking corvettes, and as you can see from the damage display, they have not actually got very far in terms of destroying it. Fortunately for you, I have decided that there is no particularly good reason to inflict this on you at normal speed, so this is how you destroy a corvette with an Excalibur at double speed. It's basically the same way as how you destroy a corvette with a guerrilla fighter, it just doesn't take quite as long. You may be wondering at this point why it is I'm not using the cloaking device, and there's a very simple answer to that. It's because I haven't got one. You don't actually get a cloak in this mission, despite what Captain Eisen has implied.
We got company.
Armed and ready.
Ready to rock and roll.
The
Break and attack.
Here we go.
Break and attack.
Watch and learn, Colonel.
Cloaking device is only actually installed for the final mission. Something else you might have noticed is that I just have to order break and attack 3 times because the game isn't actually designed to have 3 wingmen, so I have to order each one specifically. That's something they fixed for later games, fortunately. That little musical cue you heard a while ago there, notice, was the "You Just Lost a Wingman" music. Normally, of course, when I lose a wingman, I restart the mission, so why haven't I this time? Well, it's a simple answer. That death is essentially scripted. It is possible to have the wingman you selected first survive this fight, but then he'll just die for no apparent reason on the approach to the supply depot, so I didn't really think it was worth further efforts just to show you random death for no particular reason. That was Vagabond who died. In each mission, you lose the wingman you picked first, so I just lost Vagabond, and the next mission will kill Maniac by default, and the one after that will kill Flint. Because the ending is different depending on whether or not Flint survives, I will actually preserve Flint by sending her home before the point at which she'd be automatically killed kicks in. I could not do that with Maniac even if I wanted to, of course, because Maniac will ignore return to base orders. This is actually even approximately canonical. Vagabond in the books gets shot down around here, though he does eject and is eventually picked up somehow. This Stracker fight is again interesting. The stealth fighters are less of a danger in large numbers than you'd expect, simply because they don't stay out of cloak long enough to use their numbers appropriately. So the fact that you are theoretically quite badly outnumbered, especially since your wingmen tend to go off and attack the corvettes, doesn't come up as much as it ought to. Anyway, I have put out the corvettes this time because you've seen one set of Excalibur firing at corvettes. The only real difference between this and the previous one is that this time I managed to kill my corvette before my wingmen killed theirs.
More kitty litter. I'm hot today.
One other thing you might have noticed, if you're particularly sharp about this, is that Vagabond was the only one of my wingmen claiming kills before he was shot down, and now Maniac is the only one of my wingmen claiming kills. I think that the game somehow assigns all kill claims to your first wingman, because in general you don't have more than one wingman. So any fighters that wingmen 2 or 3 shot were assigned to wingman 1, who was Vagabond and is now Maniac. I'm kind of lost for words about how lazy some of this programming is. Really. Okay, so I get that there are deadlines, and I get that Wing Commander 3 was probably supposed to be a Christmas release and it ended up being a New Year release, so they were probably rushed at the end. But just some of this just seems so incredibly unprofessional. Anyway, normally I don't go for capital ships before a wave of fighters is destroyed, but that remaining red dot is actually a very long way away, despite the fact that it's firing missiles at me, and has both Maniac and Flint to keep it company, so I thought I would see if I could take out a heavy destroyer before they could kill a light fighter. Like most Galactic capital ships, the Relaxav has very weak rear-firing guns, so this is in some ways arguably even easier than killing a target, though you would expect to take longer given the number of hit points one has. But you would of course be wrong on that. And that just leaves this target. Or at least that was what I thought. hence the firing a missile at a completely non-threatening ship. But as things turned out, that was not actually the case. Well, I mean, you can tell that because the amount of time left in the video is quite substantial.
More kitty litter. Not today.
Normally, when you have multiple waves at a nav point, one of which includes the capital ship, the subsequent waves don't launch if you kill the capital ship in the initial wave. But this time they did. Still, it is not as if 6 more Darkits is going to be any more challenge than the previous set were. Though I spend some time here trying to find the ships that are actually turning towards me to fight me. As an aside, I'm a bit surprised about quite how many missiles my Excalibur managed to take without blowing up in this mission. I don't fly very well overall here. And that isn't just because Maniac and Flint managed to get more kills in this fight than me, I'm talking about the entire mission. I think in large part the reason for that is that I flew this after I'd done the solo run, and so having done it on my own, I decided that this mission was incredibly easy, and with 4 Excaliburs I wouldn't put any effort in, and consequently didn't. So I think for future runs, i.e. the next 2 missions, well, the next 1 mission, because the final mission's pretty much identical whether or not you do it solo,
Mission objectives accomplished.
I will do the run with wingmen first, as it may lead to me paying more attention. Anyway, that does conclude this mission, and there's no landing sequence for the landing on the asteroid depots, so thanks for watching. I've been Alanin, this has been Wing Commander 3 Heart of the Tiger, and join me next time as we
Need clearance to land.
Excalibur, you're cleared to land.
go in search of the Temblor Bomb.